This tomato plant is over 6 feet tall. The leaves are dark, green, and dense. It looks healthier than most tomato plants you will see this summer. And it has produced almost no tomatoes. Most gardeners respond by fertilizing it. Some water more heavily. Others assume it just needs more time and keep waiting. All three of those responses usually make the problem worse. Not because those gardeners are doing something careless, because they are solving the wrong problem. A tomato plant that looks this healthy and produces this little is not struggling. It is responding, precisely and rationally, to the signals it has been receiving. And until you understand what those signals are, every fix you try is aimed at the wrong target. Here is something worth knowing before we go any further. A tomato plant's first priority is not making tomatoes. That assumption is what leads most gardeners in the wrong direction from the start. Fruit production sits at the bottom of the plant's priority list, not the top. And the moment any signal tells it to redirect energy elsewhere, fruit is the first thing it cuts. I will come back to exactly why that is, but hold that thought, because it changes how everything else in this video lands. There are 3 specific reasons a healthy tomato plant stops producing. Each one looks slightly different on the plant. Each one has a different cause, and each one has a completely different fix. Most videos give you a general list. What I want to do instead is help you identify which one is actually happening to your plant right now, because applying the wrong fix to the wrong problem is exactly how this situation gets worse instead of better. Before we get to the diagnosis, I want to show you why the standard responses fail, because understanding that makes the real cause much easier to see. The first instinct is more fertilizer. The plant looks healthy, which means it is growing well, which must mean it needs fuel to push into production. So the gardener feeds it, usually something nitrogen-rich, because nitrogen is what makes plants green and vigorous. The plant responds exactly as expected. It gets greener, more vigorous, pushes out more stems and leaves, and produces even fewer flowers than before. The fertilizer worked perfectly. It just told the plant to keep doing the thing it was already doing instead of the thing the gardener wanted. The second instinct is more water. Maybe the plant is under stress and cannot commit to fruit production until that stress is resolved. So the gardener increases watering. In a plant that is already well established and not drought stressed, additional water often changes nothing about fruit production and can, in certain conditions, push the plant toward more vegetative growth rather than less. The third response is waiting. Surely the plant will shift into production on its own eventually. Sometimes this is correct. Often the underlying trigger that stalled production is still active while the gardener waits, and the plant continues doing exactly what it was doing for another 3 or 4 weeks. None of these responses are irrational, given what most gardeners know about tomatoes. They just share the same flaw. They are all aimed at a plant that is sick or stressed, and this plant is neither. Something else is happening. Here is how to tell which version of this problem you are actually dealing with. Look at your plant carefully, or picture it clearly if you are not standing in front of it right now. There are 3 distinct patterns, and one of them will match what you are seeing. The first pattern is what I call the nitrogen trap. The plant is extremely lush. Leaves are very dark green, deeper green than neighboring plants. Stems are thick, almost stocky. New growth at the tips is rapid and aggressive. The plant seems to be reaching upward constantly. Flowers are sparse, or when they do appear, they drop before setting fruit. There may be almost no fruit at all, despite the plant being large and vigorous. This plant is not failing to produce. It is succeeding at the wrong task. Every signal in its environment is telling it to keep growing, and it is responding accordingly. Fruit production is a reproductive investment, and this plant has not yet received a signal that it is time to shift from growth to reproduction. The second pattern is the pollen problem. The plant has flowers, possibly many flowers. They look normal, open fully, appear healthy. But fruit does not set. Small fruit may start to develop and then drop within days. Or flowers dry up and fall without producing anything at all. The foliage looks fine. The plant is clearly trying to flower. Something is preventing those flowers from becoming fruit. This is a pollination failure, and it is happening silently. No visible sign on the plant tells you pollen viability has collapsed. The flowers look the same whether pollen is viable or not. But above certain temperatures, tomato pollen dies before it can fertilize the flower. The plant produces the flower. The mechanism that converts the flower into fruit quietly fails. And the plant, with no successful fertilization to invest in, drops the flower and tries again. The third pattern is the harvest cycle. The plant produced well earlier, a flush of fruit that was genuinely satisfying. Then production slowed noticeably. The plant still looks healthy. There may be green fruit already on the vine, growing steadily, but new flowers have slowed or paused, and the gardener assumes something has gone wrong. This plant is not stopping. It is managing its own energy. A tomato carrying a significant fruit load will often reduce new flowering temporarily while it directs resources toward ripening what it already has. It is not a malfunction. It is the plant doing exactly the right thing, prioritizing the fruit it has already committed to over starting a new round before the current one is finished. Most gardeners mistake the gap for failure and intervene in ways that disrupt the very process they are waiting for. Quick check. Which of those three descriptions matches your plant most closely? Everything from here forward depends on which one it is. And if you want to tell me in the comments, along with your growing zone, I read every one. Now I want to show you why each of these happens at the level of the plant's own logic. Because this is the part that changes not just how you fix this problem, but how you understand every tomato plant you grow from this point forward. A tomato plant has a hierarchy of priorities, and fruit is not at the top. At the top is survival, keeping itself alive under whatever conditions it is experiencing. Below that is growth, expanding its root system, stems, and leaf mass to capture more resources. Only after those two priorities are reasonably satisfied does the plant invest in reproduction, which is what fruit production actually is. This hierarchy is not a flaw. It is the plant working exactly as it evolved to work. In the wild, a tomato plant that spent its energy on fruit before securing its own survival and growth would not last long. The priorities exist for good reason. The problem is that most gardeners interact with the plant as though its top priority is fruit, because that is the gardener's top priority. The plant's priorities and the gardener's priorities only align when the right conditions exist. When they do not align, the plant wins. Every time. There is also a secondary layer to this hierarchy that almost nobody mentions. Even within fruit production, the plant is constantly making triage decisions. It will abort flowers before it aborts developing fruit. It will drop small developing fruit before it abandons fruit that is already sizing up. It will sacrifice the newest growth point before it sacrifices an established one. Every choice the plant makes follows an internal logic that prioritizes what it has already invested in over what it has not yet started. Once you see this logic operating, the plant's behavior stops looking random and starts looking almost deliberate. Your tomato plant is not ignoring you. It is responding to exactly the signals it is receiving, just not producing the results you intended. That is an important distinction, because it means the fix is not about forcing the plant to do something different. It is about sending different signals. Here is how that plays out for each pattern. The nitrogen trap exists because the plant is receiving a continuous growth signal. Nitrogen is the nutrient most directly associated with vegetative growth: leaves, stems, cell expansion. A plant receiving consistent high nitrogen feeding reads that as an instruction to keep growing. It is not malfunctioning. It is following instructions accurately. The signal is wrong, not the plant. The pollen problem exists because tomato pollen has an extremely narrow viable temperature range. Below around 55 degrees Fahrenheit, pollen becomes inactive. Above roughly 85 to 90 degrees, pollen is damaged or killed before it can fertilize the flower. The plant has no mechanism to compensate for this. It produces the flower in good faith. The pollen fails silently. The flower drops. This can happen repeatedly across the entire peak heat period, while the plant looks completely healthy from every external angle. The harvest cycle exists because the plant is operating an energy budget. Ripening fruit requires a significant and sustained resource investment. A plant carrying a heavy load of developing fruit has made commitments it needs to honor before it can responsibly start new ones. The pause in flowering is the plant managing that budget, not a sign of distress, not a sign of decline, not a sign that anything needs to be corrected. In most cases, interfering with this process through additional feeding or aggressive pruning extends the gap rather than shortening it. Your tomato plant is responding to signals. In a sense, it has made a decision, a rational one, based on the information it has. The gardener's job is not to override that decision. It is to change the information the plant is working with. That brings us to what actually works. And the solutions here are more specific than most tomato advice because they map directly to which of the 3 patterns you identified earlier. If your plant matches the nitrogen trap, the single most important change is shifting the feeding signal. Stop high nitrogen feeding the moment consistent flowering begins, or right now if flowers are already sparse. Switch to a fertilizer where phosphorus is the dominant nutrient. Phosphorus is associated with root development and reproductive growth, flowering, and fruiting. The plant reads a phosphorus-dominant feed very differently than a nitrogen-dominant one. This is not a subtle difference. Gardeners who make this switch at the right moment often see visible changes in flower production within 2 to 3 weeks. Alongside the feed change, consider pinching the growing tips, the very top of the main stem and any vigorous side shoots that are extending rapidly. This does 2 things. It physically redirects the plant's energy away from new vegetative growth and toward existing flower clusters. And it sends a signal that expansion is no longer the priority, which complements the change in feeding. Do not overprune. A few deliberate pinches at the tips are enough. The goal is a gentle redirect, not a dramatic cutback. One thing worth checking before you change feeds: how often you have been feeding and at what concentration. A plant receiving heavy nitrogen every week is harder to redirect than one receiving moderate amounts less frequently. If you have been feeding heavily, reduce frequency first, then shift the formulation. Changing both at once on an established plant gives cleaner results. If your plant matches the pollen problem, the fix operates in a different place entirely: temperature and timing rather than feeding. The most effective intervention is hand pollination in the early morning, before temperatures climb into the range where pollen viability drops. A small, soft brush moved gently between open flowers, or simply shaking the plant lightly to distribute pollen, can significantly improve fruit set during periods when natural pollination is failing due to heat. Do this consistently during flowering, specifically in the morning window, and the difference in fruit set is often noticeable within one flowering cycle. If afternoon temperatures are consistently above 90 degrees, shade deployment during the hottest hours. Specifically afternoon shade on the west-facing side of the plant, not full overhead coverage, can keep flower temperature inside the viable range for longer each day. This is not about cooling the whole plant. It is about protecting the specific few hours when flowers are most vulnerable to pollen failure. One pattern worth watching: if you are seeing consistent flower drops specifically in the afternoon heavy heat of midsummer, that is almost always the pollen window closing earlier in the day than the plant's flowers are opening. Morning hand pollination resolves this directly and is one of the most underused practical techniques in home tomato growing. If your plant matches the harvest cycle, the most useful thing you can do is the hardest thing for an active gardener to do. Wait. Maintain consistent watering without increasing it. Hold additional feeding until you see new flower clusters visibly forming again. Do not prune during the gap. The plant needs its full leaf mass to continue ripening the fruit it is carrying. The plant is not pausing because something is wrong. It is pausing because it is finishing something it already started. The temptation during a harvest gap is enormous. The plant looks like it is stalled, and every gardener instinct says to do something. Add fertilizer, adjust water, cut something back. Almost all of those responses extend the gap rather than shortening it, because they pull the plant's attention away from the ripening it is currently managing and redirect it towards something new before it has finished what it started. Patience here is not passive. It is the correct active decision. One insight that connects all 3 of these fixes: you are not trying to force the plant to produce. You are trying to create the conditions under which the plant decides to produce. Those are completely different jobs. Forcing produces resistance, the wrong feeding, the wrong pruning, the wrong intervention at the wrong moment. Creating conditions produces alignment, where what the plant wants to do and what the gardener wants it to do are finally the same thing. This is actually the same principle that runs through every difficult garden problem. The July video on heat stress, this one on fruit production. In both cases, the plant is not failing. It is responding, accurately and rationally, to whatever it is receiving. The gardener who understands that stops trying to fix the plant and starts asking what signals the plant is working with. That question leads somewhere useful almost every time. If this changed how you think about your tomato plant, next week I am covering why pepper plants stop flowering. Same diagnostic approach, different plant, different triggers. Subscribe so you do not miss it when it drops. Go back to that plant at the start. 6 feet tall, dark green, almost no tomatoes. A plant that looks like that is not a plant that has failed. It is a plant that is succeeding at something. Growth, survival, energy management. That is not the thing the gardener is measuring it by. Every fix that made it worse was aimed at a sick plant. This plant was never sick. It was responding. To the nitrogen it received, or to temperatures that quietly destroyed its pollen, or to the energy commitment of the fruit it was already carrying. In each case, the plant was doing exactly what it was designed to do. The gardener just did not yet know what it was responding to. The most important shift in how you grow tomatoes is not a new technique or a new product. It is a change in the question you ask when something is not working. Not, what does the plant need more of? But, what signal is the plant responding to right now? That question, asked consistently, leads you toward the real cause faster than any checklist ever will. A tomato plant that understands its environment and responds to it is not a problem to be solved. It is a conversation to be learned. And now you know how to read what it is saying.